use case we're going for here is that these each have multiple audio tracks. So if we look at this one, we change the audio track. This is everything.
Who's driving?
Coach this guy.
If we switch it to the second audio track, you'll hear only my voice. See, so I'm talking, nobody else is talking, right? Now let's go to the third audio track, and you'll hear that it's them.
Left click on me.
So you hear it's them without me. So I have 3 audio tracks in each of these files, right? Now, while I could just drag this file into here, do what I want, and then open up a new file source and drag this file into here, what we're going to do is we're going to do a batch scan instead, because it'll preserve some of these settings from one moment to the next to make it a little bit easier for us. So let's ignore this, for example, pretend I didn't drag it in, and instead we're going to do a folder batch scan. So you have to navigate to your folder, select the folder, and when we select the folder, it's going to scan all of the video files inside here. So if, say you had 30, 40, 50 titles in here, it wouldn't matter, it's going to scan them all. And then you can select each of them up here in this dropdown. I will do a quick one first. What we would do normally is you would tick Web Optimize, just because then if you want to edit it in Davinci Resolve or something, it performs a little bit better. You'd go to Dimensions. You'd want to change this from automatic to none, because it tries to detect blank space at the top and the bottom, which normally if you were just like editing, a movie that you wanted to watch later, that's fine. Chop it off. You don't need those black bars. But if you're going to edit this in Davinci Resolve or in Premiere, you want it to truly be 1080p content, whereas right now, since it's chopping 6 off the top and 6 off the bottom, instead of 1920 by 1080, it's 1920 by 1068. So if you import that into Premiere and you're not careful, your Premiere project or your Davinci project is going to be 1080 here, which is just going to stretch everything slightly, and it's going to introduce some anti-aliasing effects that are not pleasant. So to avoid that, just set this to none. I always change that. So I always tick Web Optimize. I always tick none. Filters tab, don't worry about it, don't touch it. We're not going to even address it in this video. It's for special funky stuff that we're not going to deal with. And then I go to the video tab and I change frame rate from 30 to the top one, which is same as source. So if you recorded it in 60 frames a second, it'll keep 60 frames a second. I recommend the default, which is this H.264, while you could switch it to something faster like AV1, and the quality will go down a little bit, which I don't love, but it also means the file size goes down. So if you want to deal with AV1, that's just fine. I find that most programs are optimized for 264 because it's a little bit more mature. So I like to keep it on 264 even though it's going to take longer to convert. And that's all I change in here. Then in audio, normally I don't change anything unless maybe it's like a movie file and it's like, say it's Squid Games. I don't want the Korean version, I want the English dub or whatever. You could select that here. And then subtitles, most of the time, again, if it's a movie file like Star Trek, you want this on because if the Klingons start talking, you want the subtitle file to register and you want it to show up on the screen. But as YouTubers, we're not really dealing with Klingons, so we're going to just close that. If you left it on, nothing bad would happen, but it's just a little faster, get rid of it. And then this chapter section, we're going to save for later. So the 99% of the time, it's web optimized, cropping none, video, same as source, and then that's it. The rest is all optional. And now we add it to queue, and now it's inside of our queue, and we can see now nothing has started. It's not processing, nothing is happening. We've just added it to the queue for later. So you could then go to 2, and you can say, well, I want the exact same thing. Add to queue. We have that for later. And we can look at our queue. We can review what it has inside of it so you can see all the details. That just helps you to know what's going to happen. And then when you're ready, like usually at night, you could say, okay, I now want to say, when this is done, turn off my system. So shut down the system and go ahead and click Start Queue, and it'll just process, it'll chip away at all these things, and eventually it'll finish them, and voila, in the morning your computer's off, and you've got the files you want. Now, one quick note that I didn't cover is file tool preferences, actually. So go up to Tools, go down to Preferences. In here, there's one thing you probably need to change, which is the output destination path. So you need to set it to wherever you want your output files to go by default. So I put mine in the D drive in a temp folder. And then this file format, I like to just leave it as source so that it's named exactly the same thing, but as MP4 instead of MKV. And then down here, this MP4 file extension, I set to always use MP4. Other than that, that's it. You don't have to do any of the other things. You can poke around there if you want. There are a few options, but that's 99% of the time, that's what you have to do. All right, so let's go into our queue. Let's say, just kidding, I messed up. These are mistakes. We don't want to do that. So we've taken them out of our queue. They're no longer going to happen, but all of these settings are still in place. The other thing you have to be aware of is that when you've set things like all of these little doodads we've set. If you're like, oh, it turns out I actually want to do this in 720p because I don't want to keep as big a file. When you switch to 720p, this is a preset that has definitions for everything. So web optimized is now unchecked, right? Dimensions, back to automatic. Video, back to 30 frames a second. Most of the time, you're just going to want fast 1080p as the default. I find that that's good enough quality for pretty much everything you want. If for some reason you wanted to keep a much higher quality, there is higher quality and super high quality. These create bigger files, right? Very fast, I don't tend to use, but some things, if you're like, this file doesn't matter that much, you want it to be quick and dirty, you want the file to be smaller, well, then do very fast 1080p. That's the 99% case. Let's go into the 1% of weirdness. So we're selecting the same folder again. We're getting the same two files again, but this time we want to preserve multiple audio tracks and we want to allow for cropping down to, like, say, a webcam, right? So say I've got my webcam right in the middle of the screen right here. Well, you can use this preview to crop down to that too. So we want to crop off the top, the bottom, the left, and the right. So we go to our dimensions and we say, hey, it's like, 500 from the left and 500 from the right. And the top, let's say, is like 200 and the bottom is like 200. Just kind of guessing, right? Based on 1080p. We go back to the summary, it updates the preview. You can see, oh, I actually should chop a little bit more, right? So we go back to our dimensions. We say, like 400, right? And 400. 700 and 700, and you go to here and you wait until it fits where you want it, right? Say that's perfect, voila, you've got it cropped down. So that's how you could do a webcam one if you just wanted that content rather than the full screen. But we're not doing that right now, so I'm going to undo that. What we're doing is we're trying to preserve multiple audio tracks. In the audio, what we can do is you can say track, add new track, track, add new track, and then you can say, okay, well, we've got track 1 here. Oh, track 2, track 3. That should cover all of those 3 tracks that we saw previously when we ran this video inside of VLC. That covers it all. But the other thing you could do is that by default, it puts track 1 in here. You can say track, add all remaining tracks, or you could do selected languages, like if you were converting a video file that had it in Spanish and Italian and French and German and Hindi. You could be like, well, I just want the Spanish and the English versions, right? So we're going to do add all remaining tracks, which does 1, 2, and 3 for us, which is perfect. And now, if we look at our subtitles, we're going to close that because we don't care about it. And if we look at our chapters, this is the other piece we want to do. Okay, so let's change it from chapters to seconds. If you wanted to deal with frames, you could deal with frames, but I want to deal with seconds. So say, I previously had watched this, I'd kind of taken notes on the side. I'm like, oh, at 1 minute, something funny happened until, 120, right? So we're just going to add that in. This is 1 minute. And then, actually, let's just copy that whole one, paste it here, and then we'll change that to 20. Now, instead of calling it this, I do want to change the name because we're going to do multiple clips, right? So clip A, let's say. And now when we add it to our queue and we look at it in our queue, if you click on it, you'll see the seconds are from 60 to 80 seconds. So you know that this one's clipped, and the name is going to be clip A. So even though the source will be the same for all of these, that's the thing. And you can see that all the audio is being output in this way, which is what we want. And if you want to double check your other settings, you can as well. All right, close the queue because we are going to do a couple of clips. We also said, oh, I saw a hilarious clip at 2, but it was only 10 seconds long. We're going to add that. I'm going to add that to queue, but this time I'm going to forget to rename it. When I hit add to queue, it'll tell me, oh, hey, you forgot to rename it. That's going to overwrite it. And you're like, oh, sorry. Let's name that clip B. Great. Add that to queue. So now we have 2 things in the queue, A and B. And if you click on each of them, you can see the differences are pretty minor. The only thing that's changing is this right here, right? The seconds and the output name, which is perfect. That's what we want. All right, so say those were the only 2 clips worth preserving from the first one. Now we can go to the second one, and we can say, okay, in the second one, let's double check our settings because it might wipe something out. Web optimized, automatic, see, it wiped this out. We're going to go back to none. Filters we don't do. Video is the same. Audio, we need to always set this. This one will always reset to just the first one. So we add all our tracks again. Subtitles we don't care about, but again, if I left it in, it's not going to hurt anything, so I'll leave that in just to show you. And then chapters, we're going to switch this to seconds again, and we're going to say, in this video clip, there was something at, 13:13, and it lasted for, 13 seconds, so we're going to go to 13:26. And you can see the duration here at the end. It tells you how much time you've got selected, so you can, like, say you knew it was a 20-minute clip, you're like, oh, I must have typed something wrong, and you can double check and change things. And so now we have everything in our queue exactly how we want it. We've got, we could add a whole bunch of these in all at once. And now we say start queue. So start queue is going to show you a status bar down here, and it'll churn along it'll do the first one. It'll tell you, you know, how it's going, how many frames a second it's processing, roughly the time remaining. This isn't always going to be totally accurate, right? And now I'm going to move to where it's going to spit them out. So it's going to spit them out here in my temp folder because that's what I have my preferences set to. And you can see the pending jobs is 1. So it finished the first one. It's working on the second one. There's 1 pending. So now it'll say once this one finishes the encode, now pending jobs is 0. That means it's on the last one. So it's done 1 and 2. Pending jobs is 0, but it's still working on the very last one. And then it's going to try to shut down my system. And you'll have 60 seconds that can cancel this. So obviously if I'm asleep because I've gone to bed and just let this convert, it'll be on for 60 seconds and then it'll die. But I'm going to hit cancel because we don't actually want that to happen right now. All right, now this is all done. I'm going to close this. And what we're going to do is we're going to launch these inside of VLC again.
So how'd you do that?
And we're going to verify audio track. It kept all 3 audio tracks. And if you click in them, you can hear that the second one is me. And then you guys, the third one is just
all
them.
the way down, like you have to go in ragdoll mode.
So it preserved all 3 audio tracks, but now they're MP4s, and we've trimmed them down to instead of being giant files, right? This one's 10 seconds long, right?
Cynic's little trick
We
here.
can just
And so now you can save these for your, you know, best of moments. Let's, you know, make a folder, best of repo clips, right? And we put them in there, and you can see, you know, that our grand total is now, you know, 23 megabytes. Whereas if we go back to the repo edit that I was working on, right, the original MKV, each of these files was, you know, that's 5 gigabytes, that one's 7 gigabytes. They're huge, right? So this is just a way to save space, save time, and preserve your multiple audio tracks. So hopefully that's helpful. This is Handbrake. Again, I use Handbrake all the time for various things, and I do folder batch scan most of the time for the stuff I'm doing in YouTube. But if you just got one file, you can always just drag the one file in. All right.